Hey Villa fam, welcome back to another episode of Honest Conversations with Two Village Girls. I'm Angie.
I'm Serena.
In this season, we'll be talking about difficult talks that are typically hard to discuss but definitely needed in the home. This week, we'll be talking about sex education. So the first thing we want to talk about is why sex education is important.
There are so many things that sex education provides that where to begin? I feel like sex education is important because it teaches more than just sexual intercourse. I feel like a lot of people have this idea that sex education is all about intercourse, when in reality, it's about reproductive systems,
Mm-hmm.
reproductive health, um, learning about your body and what's right, like what to look for in diseases, infections, um, abnormalities, cancers, even.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes.
we talk about, or we can learn about doing self breast exams
Yeah.
to check for breast cancer
Mm-hmm.
when you start developing. So, like, sex education gives a lot of information other than intercourse.
Yeah.
And of course, that's a part of it, knowing like safe sex. But the grand scheme of things, it teaches so much that we need to know. We need to know when our body is healthy and when it's not.
Mm-hmm. And one of our episodes that we recorded, we talked about changing the way like the school has their like sex education classes because it doesn't like touch base on everything that the kids need to know.
Mm-hmm.
It only really talks about just the like general idea of like what to do with the condom, um, and like
And honestly, that's the only birth control they talk about too
yeah,
is condoms.
yeah, because they don't. I know I didn't learn about like the pills or IUD or
The shot.
shot or the implant or whatever. I didn't learn about none of that in school either.
Mm-hmm.
So like in school, like in the schools nowadays, it need to be like better. It need to include like everything, like everything.
Especially in um, a society that's growing like younger and younger promiscuity.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like it's better to know, like, teaching these younger kids about their bodies and how to properly take care of them. I'm not going to say it will stop like teenage pregnancies and teenage diseases, but it can at least help them understand what's going on with themselves as they develop.
hmm Yeah, like even with, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of things that females are like left out on and when in class because like when I was get older like a lot of things was changing with my body and it just brought confusion. Like I didn't understand any of it. I was just like, dang, what is this? Or why is this happening to me? Or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But like if we already know about it, like we already informed about the changes that your body's gonna go through when you get older, the um I don't know, different things that's gonna happen or might that could happen to you when you have sex or when you do things.
I agree with that, honestly. There are a lot of things. Um, a big focus is the sex part and not the health part.
Definitely.
The one thing they do talk about in sex ed for kids right now is just like the anatomy,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot more than just the anatomy that needs to be taught, because we need to know when our body's unhealthy
Mm-hmm.
and when we need to seek help, really.
Yeah.
I also think it's important because a lot of the older generations weren't taught these things.
Mm-hmm. That's
So we're teaching our our future, we're teaching the younger generations things that might not be correct or might not be the most up-to-date information.
mm-hmm.
So having those conversations with professionals and people trained in sexual education is important.
Yeah, and it just benefits you in a way. Like because now, like, instead of like moving around being curious and worried, you know what's going on, or you have knowledge of what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. So when is it appropriate to start talking about um sexual education?
This is, I don't know.
I feel like we've talked
Haven't,
about
yeah,
this
we
before.
have, and I feel like I'm gonna say the same thing because I don't know, but it's hard because parents are like so like, I'm not gonna say scared, but they just so, I don't know, afraid to talk to kids at a young age, and I feel like it's helpful to tell them around. I want to say maybe a little before puberty time, like 7, 8, 9, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
When they old enough to understand things. Um, but I feel like only that's I feel like I have that mindset because of my nieces and nephews, and like the things that they understand at the age that they are at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if they understand, I feel like other kids can too, you know. And they understand it, like nobody taught them, they just learned from their environment that
Here.
they was in. So
I agree with that. I feel like starting as soon as they're able to understand, like even during potty training time, teaching them the anatomy,
yeah.
and just building from there. At this point,
Mm-hmm.
they should be able to understand, like you said, at age 6 and 7, they're already being exposed to certain
Yeah.
things, and teaching them as life happens, really.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from like a teacher's perspective, I think it's important to teach them about their body, at
Yeah.
least in grade school,
Yeah.
because this is where they're leaving the home for the first time
Mm-hmm.
and meeting various different people, different peers, different teachers, different adults. Um, and so having that knowledge of their body and like safe spaces, safe grown-ups is important to them for their own safety.
Yeah. And like when you brought that up about having safe adults and safe spaces, a lot of times kids don't know like what is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
what is bad, you
Yeah.
know. And so like when an adult touched them inappropriately, they might not understand that that is wrong,
Yeah.
so they might continue to let it happen without like telling their parent or telling their trusted adult that they have in their life. But if there is knowledge of like what is good and what is bad, like we was talking about in our last episode,
Mm-hmm.
then they will be able to like understand and move, um, know how to handle the situation, like as going to their parents saying, "Oh, this happened today. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's right," or whatever the case is.
Absolutely. And on that same token of going to the parent,
Mm-hmm.
teaching your child that safe grown-ups don't tell you to keep secrets.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a huge deal when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to working with kids or
Yeah.
having kids, I'm sure, is knowing that there's nothing you can't tell me. If someone tells me that you can't tell me, that's a sign that you need to tell me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, because the safe grown-ups won't tell you to do that to your family. They won't try and hide things.
Right. And see, that's a thing that needs to be taught at a young age. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be taught like
Yep.
or 4 years old. You know,
Yep.
because that's when you start to leave them in schools by themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Even I work with pre-K age kids,
Mm-hmm.
and one big thing I deal with every day is consent. I have
Mm-hmm.
a few kids that are still potty training, and so when they have BMs, I help them change out of
Mm-hmm.
their dirty pull-ups into clean
Yeah.
ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's consent of, is it okay if I take this off now? Is it okay if I wipe? Is it okay if like I hold your hand and help you wipe to make
Mm-hmm.
sure it's all clean?
Yeah.
Like making sure they know what I'm doing and what the goal is with what my action is.
Right.
That way they know. And also we have what we call like a buddy system,
Okay.
where I have another staff member with me, typically the nurse, and
Yeah.
she like just verifies that I'm doing the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that there's no way something bad could happen to that child with two sets of eyes.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
It's like an accountability system with adults, just to make sure the child is in safe hands,
Yeah.
and so that the child knows that they're okay. So yeah, even with those safe grown-ups, teaching consent, teaching teaching them who safe grown-ups are.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And safe grown-ups can mean different things. We have safe grown-ups that are allowed to pick us up from school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have safe grown-ups that are allowed to give us exams, like doctors, medical professionals. There's different realms of it. So teaching them the difference from that. Like
Yeah.
your babysitter can pick you up from school, but they can't like touch your body, for example. So let's backtrack to birth control for a second. I feel like in sex ed, we touched on this a few minutes ago, but I feel like in sex ed, all birth control options need to be talked about and explained. I think it's important to explain these when it comes to women's reproductive health, especially.
Yeah.
Because ultimately we know birth control helps women from getting pregnant, or girls from getting pregnant if they're sexually active at a young age. But we don't really talk about the effects it has on the body.
And it has so many different effects.
And I feel like of all places to learn about the effects and stuff, it's in sex ed. And of course, you know, different birth controls have different effects on different people, but just knowing generally what to look for.
Well, I don't even think I started learning about birth control until I was after 18. So I was an adult.
Actually, I was about 16, and it was like the very generic, here's the condoms, and I think the pill.
Yeah, I feel like that was the same for me too. And I didn't know about the IUD or like the needle or the implants and stuff like that. Just condoms, and basically really just condoms. Like I don't even think they taught us about female condoms either, just male condoms.
Exactly.
So
why is that?
Because I don't really know. I really don't know.
It's also,
I don't know why women don't wear condoms.
I don't know.
I don't even know how condoms look.
The women's condoms, they're big. They're definitely different from the male condoms for sure, but they are an option that we should know about. And talking about birth control, teaching about STD protection, and whether birth controls will help with that, will not help with that, which ones do.
And with the diseases and stuff, I feel like the biggest things that they talked about in schools were like just, you know, AIDS, HIV, and I feel like that was it. It's so many other. There's yeast infections. There's
UTIs.
UTI, that's a big one too. UTIs.
I learned about UTI as an adult, actually, which was so sad.
Me too.
As an adult, getting a UTI for the first time, not knowing why. There was blood and pain and frequent urination, and rushing to the hospital thinking like end of the world. And then not knowing how it happened or why it happened. It's a terrifying thing. And then learning at the hospital that it's normal for women to get those.
That's the important thing, because they always tell us like it's okay, because you know how we go in there worried because it's our first time getting it, but they always tell you like it's normal, like you go through this, women go through this, like it's nothing that you did wrong. Because I thought that I was doing something wrong when they had told me that, when I had went to the doctors for that. But
it's simple stuff like this, simple things that are normal should be taught. Just like when we have migraines or a cold or the flu, like things that are regular in the world, like women's health should be regulated. Knowing about the women's body should be regulated.
Definitely, yeah.
On the same token, I feel like there needs to be more education on men's health and men's reproductive
Mhm.
system.
Yeah. And
I
they need to
feel-
learn about women's bodies too,
Oh yeah.
because they be lost too.
Oh my gosh.
It's important to teach your children early, or like Serena was saying, like learn as you grow.
Yeah.
It can be little things, and then like what she's saying, when you start off like just learning about your body, and then you just next you would teach them what those body parts do, and then next you can teach them like if something happens, what to do with it. Like for
Yeah.
instance, if you do start bleeding, what to do. One reason I kept getting like yeast infections or whatever was because like I never was wiping right at all, and not I never wiped right until I got into adult. And for women, you have to wipe front to back, and I never nobody ever taught me that when I was younger, like
Yeah.
a little girl. So when I got older, I had these like just infections and like problems just because of like not taking care of my area properly.
And not knowing you were doing it
Yeah.
improperly either.
Yeah.
And for like men going through changes, like their changes are more like visible, having erections that they don't know how to control yet because they're not sure what's going on with their body.
That's true.
Like teaching those things, letting them know that it's normal, and how to handle their body. Just knowing what to expect from your body, really, and normalizing growth without giving it like a taboo. Yeah. And rolling into our final question of the day is about abstinence. Is teaching abstinence enough?
No, I feel like it's not enough because I was ready to say I was young, but I'm still young, and and I just know that when you start being able to like make your own decisions in life, as far as sex, because we're talking about sex, I feel like when you get older, you're just going to start doing what you want anyway. So even if you do teach your child about abstinence, it's just like when they get older, are they going to follow it? No, because they're going to be around other people, other influences, other people doing this and other people talking about this and doing this, and they're going to be intrigued and want to do the same thing. Like,
absolutely.
No, abstinence is not enough, or teaching abstinence is not enough to me.
I mean, I agree. I feel like even as young kids, like telling them no usually sparks the opposite.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
I mean, I haven't worked personally in a teaching setting with older kids, but teaching younger kids, like telling younger kids no when they want to do something or when they're interested in something, usually sparks the opposite. They want to do it more, and they're going to just sneak around. They're going to, oh, you're not looking, so I'm going to take this popsicle. Yeah. So it doesn't stop the, like, in my opinion, abstinence doesn't stop the curiosity. It doesn't stop the interest in it.
Yeah.
It just tells them that, it just tells them that you don't want them doing it. So in the event that they do make that decision to seek out any desires that they have, they just know that they can't tell you because you said no. With the proper information, it's hoped that they will have less of a desire, or if they do have that desire, it's in a controlled environment, in a safe space, with the proper measures taken. But simply teaching abstinence will not answer any of their questions.
Not at all.
That's how I feel about it. I think we need to have the answers and hope that we've provided them with enough information for them to make their own decisions and the quote unquote right decision.
Yeah. Healthy decisions.
The healthy decision.
Let's make healthy decisions.
That's a better way to say it. So, yeah, with that being said, thanks for tuning in again to another episode with Two Village Girls. Please subscribe to our channel if you are new. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. Also, go ahead and hit that bell to get notified when new videos drop. Please follow us on all our social media, which will be listed in the description box below. As always, we want to send you out with some positive vibes to get you through the rest of your week. This week's inspirational quote is by Thomas Berry, who says, "Teaching children about the natural world should be treated as one of the most important events in their lives." Thanks, Villa fam. Bye.
Bye.